So I always say one of the favorite parts of my day, watching the screen populate with all of you. So happy Tuesday, everybody. Excited for those of you who have signed up for free coaching month. Nathaniel, welcome back. Love the hustle in the back. So one of my favorite topics, Peggy, nice to see you. Welcome back. You notice I look at all the screens all the time. I'm always watching out for you guys. So one of my favorite topics is objection handling. So before I get into the slides and all that other fun stuff, can anyone tell me what an objection really is?
It's a lack of understanding.
Lack of understanding. Anybody else?
It's an opportunity.
Bingo. Opportunity. We're on a roll today. One more person.
They want clarification.
Who said that?
Wayne.
Wayne, it's a clarifying question. So I look at objections very similar to modern medicine. And there are two types of doctors. Does anyone know what kind of those doctors there are? I call them functional doctors and prescription doctors, right? So functional doctors are trying to cure the cause of a problem within your body. A prescription doctor just wants to give you a pill, right? So if I show you how to handle an objection, that's like giving you a prescription. What I want to teach you how to do, and look, prescriptions are a necessary part of life, but it's not the solution that you're looking for, right? It's a difference between offense and defense, and we're going to go through that today. I want to teach you how to cure the cause. Right. So if something is unclear at the end of a presentation or a conversation, a consultation, a pitch, whatever you want to call it, if I'm going after your commission, what does that mean?
Client doesn't see the value.
Doesn't see the value. Martha?
Or they haven't understood the concept.
Concept. It's good. Martha, you had your hand up too?
I was just going to say they don't understand the value as compared to the price they feel they're going to pay.
Yeah, and in its simplest form, why am I paying you this much money for this? You go to the Four Seasons, they tell you it's $500 for a night. You could think it's expensive, but you understand why it's $500, right? You walked into the Holiday Inn and they told you your room was $500. Your eyes would pop out of your head and be like, you drunk? You can't read the screen? Like, why am I paying you so much for your room? It's very similar in our business, right? So again, I'm going to go back to the same concept. This is the difference that makes a difference that nobody wants to do. How many people do you know that are your colleagues that actively practice handling objections? Nobody.
Oh, we do.
You do because you're here.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I've been doing it for a long time.
So you're an anomaly, maybe 1%. And I always go back to this statistic. When in the summer of 2023, when they're trying to bring agents back to the office, Robert asked me to travel the whole country. So I went. We met with thousands of agents. There are less than 15 agents that practice anything related to sales and conversations for more than 5 hours, and 10 plus of them were in one San Diego office. This is the difference that makes a difference, right? And I'm going to say this over and over and over again, and either you're going to be on one of two sides. One side is going to be, you know what, you were right, and I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. The other side, I'm going to turn around and say, I told you so. Because if you can't handle objections, you can't clearly articulate what you offer in the context of what somebody wants, it's a race to 1%. If you're selling a $3 million house, you make 1%, you're still making $30,000. It's still a lot of money. But you want to make $90,000 or $75,000 or $60,000, which I do believe you're entitled to. But you have to be able to talk to people. Someone asked me the other day at Compass, why are you the only person that keeps talking about having conversations with people? I'm like, because if you don't know how to talk to people, you're not going to make money. And if there were two different courses in an Instagram ad that said, you know, how to have effective conversations, helping other people get what they want and earning full commissions, And the other one said, how to use ChatGPT in less than 5 minutes a day to fill your leads, fill your inbox with leads. Where do you think everyone's going? You're going to the ChatGPT course. But you can have all the leads you want, but if you don't know how to talk to people, you're going to leave money on the table and you're going to waste time. All right, so let me pull my deck up and let's get rocking and rolling.
Frozen? We
Bear
are
with-
frozen.
No, you're not frozen.
Ah. Okay.
No, with Canva, they're just additional steps in Keynote. All right, buyer objections. So let's go through the Med C to begin with. If you Med C most people, you can avoid the majority of objections. Well, why do I say that? Because if you understand these key factors of what somebody wants, you can actually give it to them. And when you want something specific and somebody gives that to you, sales resistance in most cases is eliminated. Make sense? Motivations, right? So what is motivating you to make a move right now? I try to always suggest, make a joke, like moving is probably one of the least fun and desirable things in the world. So what's motivating you to make a move at this time? The second one is, what are you most excited about as a result of moving? A new one that I've thrown in there is like, what type of experiences are you looking to have in wherever they're looking to move? Add that if you want. What are your expectations of an agent you partner with, right? And for buyers, you want to say, let them explain. And if they haven't brought up, what are your expectations around communication? And additionally, what are your expectations around an agent finding you off-market properties? D, disappointments. This is where all those feelings you want people to have, trust, rapport, in an effort to meet and exceed your expectations, Martha, it's really important to understand, have you had any disappointments with past agents or service providers? People just open up. And is anyone asking clients these questions? The answer is no. Not really, or not in this way. And last one, concerns, right? Like, what keeps you up at night? Interest rates, lack of inventory. I saw an article last night in many markets, anywhere from 12 to 15 houses out of 1,000 or so. That's a crazy statistic, right? So people have concerns. So if you understand how to meet and exceed their expectations, you win. You're not pitching from the dark anymore, where you have no idea, where you're just throwing everything against the wall and hope they want it. And just remember this. If I'm moving myself, I'm thinking about myself, my partner, my 2 kids, my job, the kids' school districts, a home, packing up my house, finding the time for that, settling into a new place. Does it need any renovations? Does it need? I'm not thinking about your Compass Advantage, your private exclusives, your likely to sell, your agent networks, your collaborative search tool. Those are all features. I'm thinking about me. So the best luxury services in the world organically anticipate your needs and fulfill them without having to ask. So we've gone through why use the Med C. I think that's kind of browbeaten at this point. So if you understand this, you can effectively communicate. Now, let's talk about clients' decision-making matrix, right? There are 2 types of people in the world. People, it's in making a decision. There are people that like to go with their own gut. So if I'm looking at Mike, you probably be your own gut guy, right? Like if Mike wants to make a decision, it's what he feels is best for Mike, and that's it. Then there are other people that seek external validation. They like to make decisions on reviews, right? So I use myself, for example. My partner and I could not be more different in making decisions, right? I will like to just talk to the people I know or people who've experienced something, and I'm not just going around on the internet looking for things, right? And know a ton of people. Now, on the other side, she likes to go and watch videos online, look at what other people are saying on social media, read the comments, and then make a decision. So if you're trying to sell the 2 of us, it would be challenging in a sense, because I'm making a decision one way, she's making a decision the other way. Whether it's a buyer or seller, it's important to know, right? But these are all tools in your tool belt for sales. You'll learn when is the right time to ask this and when's not the right time. Now, trigger words for bad buyers. I'm just looking around. If I find the right home, if I find the right deal, and I'm not really in a rush. Hit yes if you heard that from somebody recently.
Yeah.
So do you know what you do when you hear these words? Yes, Wayne, run. I don't mean run, I mean sprint. Sprint so your heart is like, get away from them as fast as they can. Fast. So only like 5 of you have heard this lately. I find it hard to believe. Come on, I know it's out there. So let's look at a bad conversation. How long have you been looking for a house? Oh, I've been looking for 1 year and 9 months. Interesting. Did you work with an agent? Yes, I have. Over those 9 months, what were you looking for? I want a 4-bed with a pool for under $400,000. That's interesting. Why would you go out for 9 months? One of these deals hasn't existed in 24 months. You just check the data for yourself and it's right out there. That's bad, right? Not necessarily the wrong set of words. It's not necessarily the wrong set of words. It's the way it's spoken at somebody. Make sense? So if you start thinking about this and understanding someone's economics in these situations, there are 2 schools of thoughts. When you're making a home purchase decision, is it based on the purchase price or the monthly payment amount? Great information to know about your buyer, right? Something really important to put in the financial section of your consultation. So now we run into an objection. I don't want to overpay. I'm going to agree with them. Great.
Alright, for
Here you
the
don't want to
case.
overpay. Great. I hear that you don't want to overpay, and overpaying is generally a terrible feeling, let alone something that you want to have happen, something as important as your own. Would it be okay if we look at the market through the eyes of your goals and expectations? They're going to say yes, right? Through the eyes of your goals and expectations. Buyer says yes. So what's the right deal for you? Oh, great. I'm looking for a 3-bedroom house near the school for $950,000. Perfect, right? So when sharing comps, right, you're going to want to say, perfect. Now let's look and see how many of these deals have been available over the last 3 months. Now, what you want to do and what you don't want to do. I'm going to start what you don't want to do. What you don't want to do is say, see, you look over here, there's no deal available for 6 months. We're going back, like, you don't want to talk at them. The magic in this is when you show them the comps and they would say, Namita, take a look. Have you seen any of the type of deals that would be right for you over the last 3 months? No. Okay, great. Let's go back 6 months, right? Then I'd go back 9 months. Then I'd go back 12 months. And then I'd go back 24 months. Right? What's that called? It's called creating the experience. And they're going to say, no, 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 no. I'm going to say, look, what you feel is a good deal for you and your family and not wanting to overpay in this market. None of those deals have been available for the last 24 months. How can I best support you going forward? Do you see how that changes the whole dynamic of the conversation? And it's just like it says on the slide. It's drawing a distinct line to let you know that you hear them. And look, the magic is in believing and trying. Once they see you go through this, somebody who's unrealistic that will become realistic will flush themselves out. Somebody that's unrealistic that wants to stay unrealistic will flush themselves out. So you know exactly what to do, right? Same thing. I don't want to overpay if I find the right deal. Glad. So if you find the right deal, would you mind sharing what the right deal is for you and your family? It's the same exact process. Make sense? We'll get to questions in the end. So how much your home trading's for, and you just go through this process, right? And look, one of the things is going back to their Med C, right? So look, in the end, you need a nice way to tell them that you don't want to work with them, right? So if you weren't looking at homes right now, what would you be doing? Because you're generally evenings and weekends. Buyer shares it with you. Says, look, I would say, Wayne, your time's really valuable. And look, you had shared that this is what was motivating you. This is what you're most excited about. These are your expectations, disappointments. You know, I don't want to disappoint you. And truthfully, I can't meet your expectations because none of these types of deals you're looking for in the last 24 months are available. I don't want to take you out under the pretense of something that hasn't happened at all in 24 months and ultimately take time away from what they said. So I'm going to just say that I'm not the right partner for you. Bye. Right? That is the skill that you need to get to. And now, one of the bigger things is in this, I'm going to go through the 7 keys of effective conversation. I'm just going to tie this all together from my own perspective for you. Look, it's their choice. Buying a house is their choice, not yours. I can't go to Wayne's house and say, you know what, Wayne, come to my office today, you're going to buy a home, right? Number 2, the person asking the questions controls the conversation. You're in control by asking the questions, not by talking the whole time. Number 3 and number 4, everything has to be in the benefit of the other party, and you always have to be in agreement. No one wants a non-enthusiastic, combative salesperson. Number 5, no telling, no explaining, no being combative. That's like if you're going through the comps and you're lecturing somebody, you see, this is not here and this is not here. And that really feels great. And that's something I want to pay tens of thousands of dollars for. Number 6, never show you're attached to any outcome. The most dangerous person at the negotiation table is the one that's willing to walk away. And remember, if it's their choice, how can you be attached to what they do? You don't live in their body. And look, what they choose to do doesn't mean you have to compromise, right? If they want a Holiday Inn realtor, they could go to the 1 point, however many other agents there are, but not you. Be firm in what you want, right? So when we get into objection handling, 1, I think pre-qualifying is more important now than it ever has been before. I'm not in a rush. Well, great. I'm not going to be here to be in a rush for your lack of rush to spend my time, money, and resources taking away from my friends, my family, my career, and the clients that actually really need to move within a time frame. So for all of the people that have that happen, you need to have like an actual answer and a dialogue to go through that where you don't look bad. Number 2, understanding and write this question down. What are your expectations of the market? Right? That will flush out all this stuff. And this is why I think that real estate's so challenging, right? Because there's so much stuff to learn. And that's why the lifelong pursuit of self-development and, more importantly, mastery is so important. Just because you hear something 1, 2, or 3 times doesn't mean you actually know how to do it to mastery. Right? Think about how many years for many of us of our lives we've been dealing with the same objections, the same things, and the same challenges. But look, in the moment that you make a choice like this, nothing changes if nothing changes, but once your perspective changes, everything changes. I want all of you to commit to doing this. Do the work over and over and over again. And when you think you don't need to do it anymore, keep doing it till these things just flow out of your mouth. That when a buyer asks you objection or a seller asks you objection, you're going to smile because you know the next person they ask it to is not going to be able to answer the question. And then as time goes on, you'll start tracking your objections and understanding where in your presentation you were not clear so it doesn't come up at all. This is a growth mindset around your business. All right, Namita, questions?
So, as we were in a couple of slides ago, and we are talking about going back 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. So the price points at those times were so different from what they are now, because over time, the home values have gone up, but the clients have seen homes that time that they liked, and they're trying to compare and get that house for the price today. And so how do you handle that? It's like they're on a beer budget and have champagne taste.
Well, the first question to ask them is like, all right, can we agree that buyers that have professional representation as yourself and sellers that have professional representation all have access to the same data?
Okay.
You're going to say yes. So if you are selling a home and you see people, other buyers are willing to pay this price, what would make you take this other price in line? And see what they say. It'll show you if they're driven by logic or just delusion. Right. And then another way to handle that is, look, like if I was representing you and you were selling your home, and they're going to say, yeah, and you saw other buyers are willing to pay for homes at this value, which is blank number, and I suggested that you take a value based on a sale a year ago at blank amount less, what would you think of me and why? Would you be happy with the professional? And then when they start doing that, it puts them in a place to have to answer that question.
Right.
Right?
Got
Would
it.
you hire me? Would you be grateful for hiring me? Would you want to fire me? Would you be disappointed? Would you think that I was deceiving you? Would you think that I just didn't care about, what you ultimately got out of your home and I just got a commission? Like, well, what's going through your head? They're like, okay, I get it. But it's helped them understand, right? So that is really the key in being able to do this, is asking guided questions. Leslie.
Well, I originally had a different question, which I'd like to ask, but I think her question was about buyers. If you're showing buyers listings from 24 months ago and asking them, is there anything here you would have bought? They might answer yes, but today,
Generally speaking, though, that when you go back 24 months, it's somebody that wants to buy a property 10% under market value, right? So remember, we always say that these are good tools and resources. For someone like this buyer, I'd only go back 12 months. So I would not go back a day further, right? But if somebody's like, I want a discount, interest rates are high, the economy's crazy, the presidential election's a circus, right? Then I would go back. And I believe I can get a deal at 10% under market value. Like, people just want to sell their houses. 12 out of 1,000 homes are selling in San Francisco. So I think I can get a deal. Okay, great.
So my original question was about people who say they're not in a rush. I mean, conceptually, I get it, because they're likely to take a lot of your time and maybe never buy anything. But some people really just aren't in a rush. And so are you suggesting we should walk away from those people? Which is fine. I just want to understand what
I would like you to qualify, right? What is prompting to make a move? Look, when some people are not in a rush, meaning like I have to move and I'm an Uber planner, right? So I'm going to start a year in advance with like a clear date, right? Then there are other people that when they say, so Shrug, I'm just not in a rush. Okay, so help me understand what that means to you, because to everybody it means something different. And see what they say. I'm happy where I live. If I find the right home, we're kind of just looking. Like, you have to be able to spot the red flags. And then if they're not in a rush, it's called casually looking, right? Like, it's the same thing as like casual dating. If you're casually dating, you're not going out every single week, right? Like, it's generally not how it is. And so if you're in a relationship, like, you're going to go out a lot more often. Make sense, Leslie? Got it. Mike's next, and then Brian.
I'll try to make this quick, but I have a situation that's very similar to what you were talking about regarding the going back 24 months, for instance, and not having any properties that match their criteria show up. I recently worked with this buyer who's in my area. She's about 75 years old, single lady, born and raised in Dorchester, wants to stay here, just looking for a different setup at her house. And we did the research. One property has changed hands that matches what she's looking for in the last 2 years on the market. So I actually she offered to go street by street and tell me which addresses or which streets in Dorchester she is willing to live at. Her criteria is very specific. So she gets all this information to me. I actually do the diligence behind it, narrow it down to 15 properties in the entire area that she's looking in that even match the criteria on paper before we even step foot in the properties. Wrote these homeowners all handwritten letters. And maybe the worst thing imaginable happened, and we actually got a response from someone, and I was able to take her to the property to tour it. And the guy that was potentially thinking about selling, he just wanted too much of a premium to sell it off market, and it didn't quite fit within her budget, even though she was willing to go a little bit above market price. So now I'm in a situation where there's not zero properties, and this woman is an eternal optimist. So she's like thinking to herself, okay, well, there's a chance. So let's keep this going for the next 2 years. So would you adjust your plan then?
Well, one, the win in this is learning how to do all that research. So when you do have good buyers, you know how to do it, and you can put this in part of your value proposition, right? So huge win there. The second thing is, look, it's time, right? So if she's casually looking and you have filters set up in a collection, and if something comes up, she's okay with that, great, right? So remember we used to do, Mike, you've been here forever. Remember we usuld to do keep it or cut it, where people would bring their expenses and we'd go through it, like keep it or cut it. Look, if she requires weekly attention, cut it, right? The likelihood, it's like fun. It's like someone wins the lotto every day, right? So I might as well just go buy a ticket, right? And especially where you are, it's generally a competitive market.
It's just been, yeah, it's been somewhat rewarding in having the conversations with her, and she's a super sweet woman, and I don't mind a little extra attention with her. But I've been trying to have these conversations and put the ball in her court and say, how can I best serve you? And she's like, well, I'm not in a rush. Let's just keep, doing what we're doing, and something will come up. And I'm just thinking to myself, the likelihood of something coming up that matches your criteria is near zero. So I don't know.
Let me just have to ask her, what's your plan B if you're not able to find a home that meets these criteria, and see what she says.
Eventually, she has said that she's going to adjust her search to open it up to additional properties, but that may not happen for another 6 months or a year.
Yeah,
Wow.
so say what would have to happen? I would also be able to just sit down and show her the data point. Mike, she's enjoying your companionship. Yeah, 100%.
Are you buying her lunch or something?
You're lucky. We're lucky Andrea Shrink isn't in here, because God knows what she would say at this moment. So look, in the end, that's kind of the process, right? And you just ask her, help me understand what has to happen to open yourself up to other opportunities. Because I would say, look, my concern for you is property values are going in this direction. So the worst thing that can happen is you decide to adjust, but you adjusted too late. Now that's like 6 months ago where the market was, right? So go and have that kind of conversation, then make a decision. It's your time. You have to value it. She loves him. Oh, here we go. Ryan.
I showed a new buyer this last weekend, and I got the, she's not in a hurry. And so I asked some qualifying questions, and it turns out that she has a specific plan. She's, going back to her country for 2 months. She's going to come back. She's going to get a 1 year.
So this is master the art of the interview.
What the heck is that?
And over that next year, she is deciding to buy a place. So, I'll keep in touch with her. I'm going to get her in a collection, and then, put her on a long-term buyer's plan that keeps me in touch with her. But she's not going to be like one of my, needs to move now clients. But she gave me that she had a very specific plan about what she wanted to do. And that sort of made me feel like, okay.
Yeah, but that's different than somebody that just says, yeah, I'm out looking, right? Like, I love the house I live in, right? So if I'm out looking, I'm just looking for the sake of looking, and maybe if something comes up. And even if something comes up, I'm very reluctant to want to move, because I believe my house has great energy in it. So I'm afraid to trade out for something more. So literally, my agent, if she takes me out, the only reason she's taking me out is because she likes me and values my relationship. That's to the extent of what this all is, right? So look, everyone is different. And I think the part that we all need to align on as a group and individually is, where is your line? That's it. Everyone's line is going to be different. There's no right or wrong answer, right? So it's like, Success is not a destination. It's different for every person. True success is being fulfilled in both your professional and personal life. It's the same thing with clients. Everyone's view of a good client is different. There's no right client or wrong client, right? The right client, though, will respect your time, your resources, and the value you bring and will want to compensate you for it. That's the difference. And I say this all the time. If I'm going to use a real estate agent in my life, given what I professionally do for a living, I sold real estate, I had my own brokerage, I'm vice president, a 30,000 person board for several years. I was a treasurer. I ran a YPN group for a few years, right? I have like 20 years pretty much of real estate experience. If I'm using an agent, I don't see why 99% of other people would. There's so much value a great agent can bring. Now go back to where we were in the beginning. If you can't communicate your value to somebody, no one is going to see value in what you offer. And that only comes with practice. Make sense?
Right. Mhm.
All right, last question. Let me do.
No, I'm good. I'm sorry. I was yawning.
Oh, good.
I've
Anyone
been
else
up
have any
since 4.
questions? Questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, hallucinations, fears, doubts, worries?
Actually, I put a quote in the chat. I've heard this a few times. The road to success is always under construction.
Yeah.
What do you think? Isn't it true? Yeah.
I'm a work in progress every day of my life, just like everybody else. Like I have several different coaches I work with too. I have gone since I started in real estate. Within my first few months, I've had a business coach my entire life. And at other points, I'll have like 3 or 4 different coaches I work with on different things. Like Robert has a coach, Rory has a coach, Netta has a coach, Elon Musk has, like, all the top performance of coaches. If Michael Jordan needed a coach, I don't think anyone else is omitted. Michael Jordan, Kobe, Dwayne Wade, they all worked with the same coach and trainer, right? If professional athletes could succeed on their own, there would not be these head coaching jobs,
Mhm.
right? And I think if all of us, I've started working over the last 2 years with a lot more professional athletes, and I'm always telling them how transferable their skills are, right? And in the end of it, it's their ability to practice something over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And they don't stop. But that's why they're the best at the world at what they do.
Okay.
Any burning questions that you want to ask Robert? I saw Robert and I talked to him the other day, so normally I'd have a question. Why are the buyer's agents and listing agents? Where are the buyer's agents? And is that a question for me or a question to ask Robert? One.
It's for you.
Oh, the lister.
I couldn't seem to find it, and your support group didn't know where to find it either. So I thought I'd just ask you.
So I will.
You put together those 2 lists, and you said you were
Well,
going
the buyer one we're finalizing, right? So we, as per the feedback of the accountability leaders, we're going to take our nice PDF that's branded and for Compass, so you could just stick your logo in it. And we're going to make a Google Doc version that's like an editable doc that anyone can go in and add their own stuff in. So that was a nice flag from Martha, Brad, Jody, and Cherish. So that's what we're looking at finalizing this week. And we will send an email out on Friday that has links to both the lists. Sound good?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, everybody. I could stay here and talk objections in real estate all day, but with love in my heart, I love you all. And look, if you're in the area and can make it over the next 4 Wednesdays, we're going to be doing our free coaching month. There'll be events here. And if not, we're going to have a Friendsgiving and a holiday party. So I hope to see all of you at some point. So bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.